In this video, I'm going to go through my systems to do more exercise with less time. I find that whether it's me talking to some of my clients who are trying to do exercise alongside their 9-to-5 job, or whether it's me just trying to get in more exercise alongside me trying to afford to do triathlon and the part-time jobs that I do alongside that, there is a way in which I manage to squeeze as much in as possible into the allotted time that you have within the week.
Do you wish you knew what a 3-minute K felt like?
I can't even fathom what that would feel like.
Not just a 3-minute K, but a 3-minute K chilled, isn't it?
That's it.
I can't do that. I'm a maybe 3:25 a K chilled.
I remember picking up a FaceTime call once, a 3 minutes a K. Just for bands.
I can do that at 400 watts, but I can't do it.
Josh Lewis.
I think we're all pretty time starved, but then also I think there's a lot more time than you think within a day. So it's kind of a case of what do you allocate to what time and how do you best use that time? What are your priorities?
Hi bitches, I'm back.
So I think what you've done.
For me, obviously I'm trying to be a professional triathlete, but I'm also trying to run a business, I'm trying to teach, and I'm trying to do other bits and pieces alongside just general day-to-day life and having a relationship, etc. So I've really got to be on top of everything. And specifically, I've got to be really on top of my time management. I can't emphasize how valuable it is to be able to time manage effectively. And I've done this from a very early age, right? I think I've done it since school when I wanted to do education and swimming alongside that. And I used to, go swimming before school, go to school, work over lunchtime to do my homework, then work after school on my homework, and then go swimming again, and then go home, finish off my homework, eat, go to bed, etc. Like, I think from a very early age, I've kind of had to do that because I've wanted to do so much stuff. It's something that I now teach in architecture as well. I think when I was studying, it was a fundamental part of my education, being able to actually manage your time in order to get the projects done on time and basically do enough work alongside everything else that you're doing within university, whether it be social or sport. So it's something that I really emphasize a lot with my students, just making sure that they're able to do it and giving them the tools to do it, I think, as well.
That was tough, really tough.
It's come from a little bit of dyslexia as well. I think that because I've been a little bit slow at processing things, I've had to work out ways in which to skirt around or make things more efficient for myself. And those things are basically making a ton of lists, being very diligent with my time in terms of blocking out time in the calendar, using my calendar constantly, making sure that I constantly understand what I need to be doing when, which kind of comes into the next thing as well, which is prioritization. But yeah, really understanding what I'm trying to achieve on a week, month basis, or even like project deadlines, how to break down that project and work towards it over time. I think sometimes I've had to have a bit of a mindset shift about time and how I use it, because I think I've always thought that I have more time than I do, and therefore I pack it in as much as possible. So the way that I tend to work is you have a capacity at which you're able to do things, and my prioritization is sport, right? I want to do as much sport as possible at the moment to be a professional triathlete, but outside of that, I need to be able to fund it. So I pack it full of all of these other things in order to try and facilitate, fund, and be able to afford to do it. So a lot of my time outside of sport is taken up with a lot of work. And I find that when you're at this capacity, then I get a bit overwhelmed, and you have to find a way in which to cope with it. So I find more efficient ways of doing things, and all of a sudden I've got a little bit more capacity to be able to do more or rest and recover and have that headspace. And as soon as that happens, my mind goes to, oh, you've got a little bit more time in the day, what can you fill that with? And I don't think it's the right thing to do necessarily, and I don't think everyone should do it. But I'm like, okay, well, there's that more time, like, what can I fill that with to make my life easier in terms of finances or whatever it is, or training, like I can do more training. It's whatever you prioritize, right? So then I fill it up again, and I'm like, oh God, I'm at capacity again, how do I make this more efficient? So you can do more and more within your day, but you won't know how much you can do until you're at capacity and you acknowledge that, oh, actually, that is a lot of work. I need to just trim the edges, like make it more efficient, so that either you can do more or you can rest and recover, or just have a little bit of headspace to do things outside of that. So I think that there's more time than maybe I think there is quite often. But then you don't want to be caught in that trap of being constantly at capacity. I think you've got to definitely think about the different prioritizations within your life, which is our next point.
So just finished up our 4K threshold swim, which was 40 times 100, off about 85 seconds per 100, swimming about 72, 73s. So pretty decent, but overworked a little bit when I was leading the lane, but when I got back behind someone, it was absolutely fine. So bit of a mixed session, don't really know how to feel about it, like got through it fine, but could have been better in terms of execution, I guess. Other than that, we just went for a 10.5, 11k run with some of the academy people as well, academy kids, and then Tea Melon Bakery. So yeah, gonna head home now. I have a call to do on my way home, which will be good, just with my management team to see if there's any updates, and then head back home, have some more food, and then obviously, and then get on some calls with some clients, and then get on the bike this afternoon, evening. I tend to try and give it as much time as possible in between now and then, so that I get 2 feeds and recovery. So yeah, checking in a bit.
So goal setting and prioritization is probably underpinning everything that I've spoken about so far, because if you can't prioritize what you want to do in order to achieve your goals, and what are your goals, and understanding your goals, then you're not going to be able to systematically work towards them. So everything else just, I guess, goes into the wind, because you can't sift out the important things to do throughout your day if you don't understand your end goal. So obviously I want to live a happy, fulfilled life, and that includes having a relationship with Emily and other bits and pieces. But I think that is number one, and then everything else is there to try and underpin that. So for example, I want to be a professional triathlete, I want to make it to one of the best in the world, and therefore that will hopefully facilitate a happy, fun, fulfilled life, because then I'll be able to afford to do things and move on with life outside of sport as well. But in order to do that, I then have to be able to fund it, I have to be able to grow a business, run the business, and all of that comes with it. And I love all of that stuff, but having the order of prioritization is key, because you need to know when to drop something or when to push on through something. Okay, so kind of in the middle of my day now, and I've just had a conversation with James, who's one of my clients at Entire, and we've just gone over his first race of the season, which has been really exciting. I tend to try and streamline things as much as possible and make my life as well as other people's lives as easy as possible. That's kind of what I do with both teaching and coaching, I guess. And one of the ways I do that is just to use Notion, which is basically a sort of database / template area. And I've got loads of systems and templates that I use for both clients and myself all the time, essentially. Because again, it's all about kind of streamlining, planning, making sure that I don't have to redo things whenever. So this is just a triathlon race planner, so it's got like pre-travel, packing list, schedule, race plan, timings, night before, morning, race, post-race, etc, etc, etc. So we've just gone through that together, and yeah, I'm really excited to see how he gets on, but also to use this, I think. I use it myself, and that's kind of what I tend to do, is I tend to have things that I use myself that I then apply to other people as well, so that they can get the benefit of it, in short. But what I'm going to be doing now is I'm going to be going to my social media stuff, and that's whether it be YouTube or Instagram or anything. I use this for it as well. It's a massive database essentially, but I'm going to be working on my next YouTube video and planning the next month or so, month or two maybe, and then hopefully that'll give me a little bit more time to bulk produce and then have better, more organised content for you guys, because at the end of the day I want it to be as good as possible for you, to give you the best value possible. So that's what I'm doing in the middle of today, just a bit more planning. I tend to do a lot of planning, to be honest. More planning than doing potentially, so that whenever I am doing, it's intentional and effective and efficient. Once I've done an hour or so of this, I'll probably end up jumping on the bike for my 3-hour turbo, so maybe catch you then. So I have endless to-do lists, and they are also in prioritization mode. They are prioritized. So I do it in a list of like 1 to 3 or 1 to 5, depending on the day or whatever it is, alongside obviously how I've systemized my day-to-day training, which is of order of priority, like what's the key session of the day, etc. So obviously you need to prioritize things throughout a day, but also throughout a week, month and year. And I just do that all the time. Like, I think it kind of comes naturally to me now, but I also sit down every year and have a review and make sure that all of the priorities and goals that I want to achieve are in order. And I know exactly what I'm working towards each year. It's kind of like a review of the year, if you will, and then like what to do next time. A season review, you could call it, or whatever it is. You've just got to be sure that you're focusing on what truly matters. Em's behind the camera, but thought I'd give you a little update on my session, which went okay. It's one of those sessions which is kind of just long and atrocious, and I don't know, I'm just looking at you.
Oh, sorry, I thought
And just quite tough on the legs, especially when you've got the rest of the week underneath you, and there's a lot of cycling and running within that. So yeah, all in all pretty good. I did 40, 30, 20 minute reps, just building. So started at 320 and kind of went up 20 watts each time, and it was good. Legs didn't fancy doing the last 10 minutes at 380, so I just canned it. And I know I'm really fit when I can get that out, but I'm 2 hours 40 in now and ready to jump off and have some food and relax for the evening. And that's the day will be done then. Evenings are very much protected for time with Em. Isn't that right? Even though she's a bit ill at the moment, but hopefully I don't get that. Or I've had it.
you gave it to me.
I probably did give it to you, so
You just deal with things better than I do.
I do deal with things slightly better. But yeah, roll through the rest of this. I did a fair bit of this in the time trial position, so tried to do about 50% of it in the time trial position. But yeah, see how that translates in a couple of weeks' time. Hopefully next week goes well as well, and that'll be the last week before I start tapering. First time this season.
First time since October.
First time since October. Finally, use your time intentionally. And it doesn't have to be always intentionally. I think I fall into that trap quite often of trying to constantly use my time intentionally. And it's a bit of a habit, it's a bit of a bad habit. I don't know, it's each to their own, I guess. But like, for example, when I put on the kettle to make a cup of tea or whatever, or make a coffee, I think that, I've got a minute or two to do something else. I could be tidying, or I could be doing something else, or this, that and the other, like instead of scrolling on my phone. That's potentially useful, potentially productive, but unintentional. But there's other ways to do it, right? So I think if you're using your time intentionally before or after work, for example, then if your goal is to get fitter and faster and healthier, then to go to the gym is potentially a good idea. Or go running or cycling or swimming is a good idea. And that's the intentional use of time if it's important to you and your goals. Yes, I go a little bit over the top with trying to constantly intentionally use my time, and I get frustrated sometimes when I'm not intentionally using my time. But sometimes you've got to just relax as well. And I think I'm my own worst enemy for that. I think I don't relax often enough necessarily. And that's probably to the detriment of my sport as well, because I feel as though I'm constantly on the treadmill of trying to constantly do better, and that relentless process of progress. And it doesn't matter whether it's in triathlon or work or life. I think that is very much my MO, that relentless process of progress. It doesn't just stick to triathlon. And I've got to be wary of that sometimes and make sure that I come down and just be like, no, it's okay to take a rest. You can just switch off. And I struggle with that from time to time. And maybe I'm slightly different in that sense if you're looking into this video for ways in which to use your time more purposefully. But I personally don't struggle with that. But the way in which I guess that you could get better at it is using time blocks. And I do this. I've done it in the past. Again, it comes a little bit more naturally to me now because I've done it for so long. But I literally time block out in my calendar and have this perfect week scenario where I'm like, okay, well, this time is used for work before I go swimming in the morning first thing, and then I'm going swimming and then running. So that time's all blocked out between 7:30 or 7 o'clock and 11 o'clock. And then from 11:30 until 1 o'clock, I've got entire meetings or I've got entire work to do some coaching. And then from 2 till 6 or whatever it is, whatever period or day it is, that's blocked out for cycling in the afternoon. So, and then evenings I try and keep clear as much as possible to spend time with Emily. So that's time blocking and using time purposefully and meaningfully for my certain goals, which is growing the business, improving in triathlon, and improving my relationship. So yeah, I think that there's ways of doing it. That's just one way. That there's millions of other ways that you can do it. But that's just the way that I do it for myself. And I guess like when you've done it long enough, it becomes a little bit more systemized, and it's just kind of natural and instinctive. So yeah, I guess when it gets to that point, it becomes a lot easier because it takes your mind off having to look at the calendar and trying to make sure that you're doing what you're meant to be doing. It's just like, okay, no, I get home from swim and run and I'm into meetings or work. Like that's just how it kind of happens, and it's far more natural these days. But yeah, each to their own, and hopefully that's given you a little bit of an insight into my habits and my downfalls, and maybe the pros and cons of what I do on a day-to-day basis. Don't get me wrong, I would much prefer to not have to work quite as much as I do and just get sponsored and just do triathlon full time without having to worry about any of the other stuff. But at the same time, I love teaching, I love coaching, I get a lot out of it in terms of mental kind of, I guess, satisfaction, fulfillment. So yeah, I do enjoy it. I just probably wouldn't do it as much as I do. But anyway, hopefully this has given you a little bit of an insight and value into what you could do on a day-to-day basis, or how you could do more exercise on a day-to-day basis. But yeah, if so, do hit that subscribe button, and thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.